Good evening from New York. I'm Chris Hayes. We are in the midst of a global pandemic. That's been evident probably for weeks now, but today the World Health Organization officially declared coronavirus a pandemic because of the widespread scale of the outbreak.
Keep new cases from entering our shores, we will be suspending all travel from Europe.
And the turmoil on Wall Street amid the coronavirus outbreak, all three major averages, the Dow, the Nasdaq, and the S&P, set to plunge.
When you see all stocks open, if it still continues to trade down 7%, you'll see a halt of 15 minutes for trading. We have not seen circuit breakers used until earlier this week, since all the way back to 1997.
For many, the crisis is already in full swing. The most active hotspot right now is Italy. Nearly 200 people there have died in just the last 24 hours.
We are all in this together.
Now, taking a look at both of the previous halving cycles, Bitcoin has never seen price action like this before during a halving cycle. We are now entering the worst performing halving period of all time. And I don't think it's a coincidence that the worst performing halving of all time as of right now is taking place during the worst traditional market correction Bitcoin has ever seen. Right now, the global economy is coming to a halt. It's obvious that the beginning of this economic downturn started because of the coronavirus panic, but everything that's followed since then has actually shown that there are a lot more things to worry about than just coronavirus. It's quite clear that obviously there is a major issue with the way that the global financial system has been built. It has been artificially propped up for many years now, and we are seeing an absolute collapse of this system, all resulting from a global virus. Because the United States outsources a lot of its work to other countries, and we have a lot of imports coming in from other countries, and we have a travel ban going on now, and we have limited supply chains in the US, this is an extraordinarily bad situation for this country and for the world as a whole. Now, getting back on topic with the crypto market, Bitcoin has seen a major drop recently. Bitcoin traded below $5,600. And as you guys know, for the past month on this channel, we've been talking a lot about how Bitcoin is correlated to the traditional markets. And I've been showing you guys all the evidence, all the numbers, all the trends that correlate with Bitcoin. And a lot of people across the crypto space for a very long time were living in a fantasy land where they just wanted to believe that Bitcoin was not correlated to the traditional markets, and they wanted to believe that Bitcoin was a hedge against the stock market. And none of these things are true, and that is being proved today. Bitcoin recently broke below $7,700. We had a clear break below that level, and we fell all the way below $5,600. This was a major break of some key market structure. It's pretty clear that Bitcoin would most likely not have seen that much of a drop if the global markets weren't entering a complete panic mode. Bitcoin dropping this much right now is a clear representation about the lack of development of Bitcoin as a whole. If Bitcoin was easier to spend, then people wouldn't need to necessarily just dump on the market. They could actually spend their Bitcoin, at stores and stuff, but people can't do that. And right now people are selling their Bitcoin all around the world so that they can get cash to buy the supplies they need to prepare for a potential continued pandemic. And obviously the market does not see Bitcoin as a hedge against crisis events, and it is not a hedge against the stock market. It is pretty clear right now that Bitcoin is correlated to the stock market and that it is a very speculative and a high risk asset to trade and to invest in. People do not want to own high risk assets during a crisis. I think that's pretty clear. Right now, I'm looking at Bitcoin on the daily chart, and we can see that Bitcoin was attempting to hold this upward sloping trend line. We were attempting to bounce off of $7,700, and we have since then seen a complete collapse below that trend line. Looking at the hourly chart, it took just a few hours for us to get down to $5,700 on Bitstamp. All of this was taking place last night while the Dow Jones futures was dropping another 1,000 points to the downside. Backing out to the weekly chart, we can see that Bitcoin is now breaking below this upward sloping trend line. For the past day or so, technical analysis has kind of just been thrown out the window. The market has, when there's enough panic in a market, a lot of times things aren't really respected. But what's interesting is that Bitcoin did test the 2018 low of the descendant triangle before the breakdown to 6,000. We actually just found support off that level. And another interesting thing that we just touched off of was the 200-week moving average. If there's any hope left in this market right now, it is going to be the 200-week moving average. Looking back in history, generally we do remain above the 200-week moving average during our bear market lows. And right now, Bitcoin, even though we've exited the bear market from 3,100 up to 14,000, now all the way back down to 5,700, we are still remaining above the 200-week moving average. Looking at the chart, what's quite shocking about the price action right now is that we had a chance to create an inverse head and shoulders. Obviously, that failed. We also had a chance to remain above the upward sloping trend line. Obviously, that failed. We also had a chance to hold the horizontal support at 6,400, but we weren't even able to do that. We just broke through all these levels, and on some exchanges, we tested below $5,700. The only two things that I see that we're really respecting at the moment from a TA perspective is the 2018 market low of the descendant triangle before the breakdown and the 200-week moving average. These are the only two things I can see right now that the market is actually taking account for. Other than that, things are looking quite bad. Now, taking a look at both of the previous halving cycles, Bitcoin has never seen price action like this before during a halving cycle. We are now entering the worst performing halving period of all time. And I don't think it's a coincidence that the worst performing halving of all time as of right now is taking place during the worst traditional market correction Bitcoin has ever seen. And it's pretty obvious that Bitcoin does not perform well during economic crisis events. Since 14,000, Bitcoin has continued to make lower lows for the past 10 months. And that is by far one of the worst parabolic advances we've ever seen in Bitcoin coming out of a bear market moving into the halving. By far one of the worst performing halving periods of all time as it stands right now. Now that we've broken below this macro uptrend here, things are not looking good. Are we just going to continue to rely on the traditional markets and just move with the traditional markets? Or have we seen enough capitulation to see a major bounce back? That's the real question right now. And to be quite honest, I don't know. And I don't think many people know either. In my last video, I featured the Twitter conversation I had with Andreas Antonopoulos, who is a top Bitcoin specialist. And even he doesn't really know what to think exactly of this entire situation. But overall, things are pretty interesting right now. Bitcoin went from testing the upward sloping macro trend line, a very key upward sloping trend line, directly back to retesting the lows of the 2018 market structure, right? So we just went from one critical area to the next major critical area, very historic range for Bitcoin to be testing right now. So I think it's safe to say that it's very hard to tell what's going to happen here. We need to wait to see what the traditional markets do, how Bitcoin responds to that. And that's going to be it for me today, guys. I apologize that I don't have more answers for you now that we have a major global economic crisis and a global pandemic, coronavirus, all this stuff is taking place. It's very unpredictable, guys. Just like the spread of the virus is unpredictable, what the economy does in response to that is also very unpredictable. So we're going to have to see how this all plays out. We're going to have to see how bad it gets for America, how we respond to it, and all those things, guys. So definitely hit the like button, subscribe to the channel. Be sure to sign up with the CryptoWatch platform, which is the platform that you see me use in all of my videos. And if you want to support the channel further, you can join the Patreon, and I will see you guys in the next video.